It starts with a phone call, a real estate agent. Her voice is flat, almost apologetic. She tells the Hendersons that the house is gone, not sold to another family, not lost in a bidding war with a young couple like them. It was bought, sight unseen, by a Delaware LLC nobody had ever heard of. $50,000 over asking. All cash, closed in 72 hours. Mike Henderson stares at the wall of his rented apartment in Charlotte. He's 34. 2 kids, a wife who cried for an hour. He spent 4 years saving that down payment. 4 years of skipped vacations, used cars, and ramen on Thursdays. And in one afternoon, a machine he can't see, owned by men he can't name, erased every sacrifice he ever made. He doesn't know it yet. Mike Henderson is not a buyer in the American housing market anymore. He's prey, and there are millions just like him. This is the story of the quietest robbery in American history. No masks, no guns, no headlines, just signatures, server farms, and a wealth transfer so massive, so coordinated, and so deliberate that by the time you finish watching this, you will understand something most Americans will never accept. The American dream wasn't lost. It was bought piece by piece, house by house, zip code by zip code, and the people who bought it have no intention of ever selling it back. For 70 years, the deal in America was simple. You work hard, you save, you buy a house. That house becomes the single largest asset of your life. You pay it off, you hand it to your kids, and that is how a middle-class family becomes a wealthy family in 2 generations. That was the promise. That was the engine. That was the entire foundation of what made this country different from the feudal kingdoms our ancestors fled. But somewhere between 2008 and today, that engine was hijacked. It started in the wreckage of the subprime collapse. Millions of foreclosed homes flooded the market. Prices cratered. Ordinary Americans, ones who had just lost everything, couldn't qualify for new loans. Banks had killed their credit. The economy had killed their jobs. And while they stood in the rubble, something new walked onto the field. Something that had never existed before in American history at this scale. Wall Street became a landlord. In 2012, the Federal Reserve was pumping money into the financial system at near zero interest. For a private equity giant like Blackstone, money was effectively free. And while a family in Phoenix was being evicted from a home they had lived in for 20 years, Blackstone was buying that exact house in cash for 40 cents on the dollar. They called the new entity Invitation Homes. By 2017, it owned over 80,000 single-family houses across America. But Blackstone was just the opening act. BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, Pretium Partners, American Homes for Rent, Progress Residential, Tricon. These are not names you hear at the dinner table. You don't see their commercials during the Super Bowl, but together they controlled trillions of dollars. Trillions. And somewhere in the early 2000s, they made a calculation that would reshape this country forever. They realized that the American single-family home, the little house with the white picket fence, was the most undervalued, most stable, most exploitable asset class on Earth. Why? Because Americans will pay anything to keep a roof over their children's heads. Anything. So they built the machines. Picture a room, cold, silent, server racks blinking blue in the dark. Inside those servers, algorithms scan every multiple listing service in America, every county tax record, every divorce filing, every death certificate, every job loss in real time. The moment a property hits the market in a target zip code, the algorithm prices it, evaluates the rental yield, calculates the long-term appreciation, and fires off an all-cash offer before a human realtor has even uploaded the photos. You're not slow because you're poor. You're slow because you're human. By 2021, in some Atlanta zip codes, institutional investors were buying 1 out of every 3 homes sold. In parts of Charlotte, Phoenix, Tampa, Jacksonville, and Houston, that number climbed higher. In certain neighborhoods, a single corporation owned more than 40% of all single-family rentals. 40% of an entire neighborhood owned by one entity, headquartered in Manhattan, answering to shareholders in Dubai, London, and Hong Kong. And here is the question almost no one in Washington is asking. If a single corporation owns nearly half of the homes on your street, who actually sets the rent? Who actually decides what your children can afford? Who actually controls the future of that community? It isn't you. It isn't your mayor. It isn't even your governor. It's an algorithm. But what if the system isn't broken? What if it is working exactly as designed? Because here is the part they don't want you to understand. These corporations are not buying houses to flip them. They are not buying houses to renovate them and sell them at a profit. They are buying houses to never let them go. The business model is permanent extraction. They are converting the most stable wealth-building asset in American history into a subscription service. You don't own the house. You rent the house forever. And every month, that rent payment flows out of your bank account, out of your neighborhood, out of your state, and into a pension fund in Norway, a sovereign wealth account in Saudi Arabia, a private equity vehicle in the Cayman Islands. The wealth your grandfather built with his hands, the equity your parents prayed would one day go to you, gone, rerouted, sucked upward into a financial machine designed by people who will never know your name. And the squeeze is just beginning. Because when one company owns 40% of the rentals in a zip code, they don't compete on price. They coordinate it. There is now a federal lawsuit ongoing as we speak, alleging that major corporate landlords used a software platform called RealPage to share confidential rental data and artificially inflate rents across entire American cities. The Department of Justice is investigating. State attorneys general are filing suit. And while the lawyers argue, the rent keeps going up, 20%, 30%. In some markets, 50% in 3 years. The average American renter now pays more than 40% of their income just to keep a roof over their head. In cities like Miami, Los Angeles, and New York, that number passes 50. 50 cents of every dollar you earn vanishing into the pocket of a landlord you will never meet, or a property you will never own in a country your ancestors built so their children would never have to live like this. And here is the math they don't want you to do. If half your income goes to rent and a third goes to taxes and the rest goes to food, gas, insurance, and childcare, what is left? What is left to save? What is left for a down payment that, in most American cities, now requires over $100,000 cash just to walk in the door? Nothing. That's the answer. Nothing is left. You are not falling behind. You are being held underwater. This is what the World Economic Forum meant in 2016 when they released a now infamous video predicting the future. You will own nothing and you will be happy. Americans laughed at it. They called it a conspiracy theory, meme. A joke. It wasn't a joke. It was a forecast. Because a country where ordinary people cannot own property is not a republic. It is not a democracy of equals. It is something older, something darker, something we left behind in the bloody fields of medieval Europe. It is feudalism. Modern, digital, algorithmic feudalism, where the lords don't ride horses. They sit on boards, where the serfs don't farm fields. They drive Ubers and pay rent on apps, where the kings don't wear crowns. They wear suits and speak at Davos. And the most terrifying part? It's all legal. Every single deed, every single transaction, every single rent hike. Perfectly, beautifully, devastatingly legal. Congress holds hearings, senators express concern, reports get filed, and then nothing happens. Because the same institutions buying your neighborhood are also the largest shareholders in the banks, the media companies, the tech platforms, and yes, even the campaign donors. BlackRock manages over $10 trillion in assets. Vanguard, over $9 trillion. Together, these firms are top shareholders in nearly every major company you have ever heard of. They own the housing. They own the news that reports on the housing. They own the politicians who write the laws about the housing. It is not a conspiracy. It is a concentration. And it is the largest concentration of wealth and power in human history. So what happens next? Look at your children. Look at their faces. And ask yourself a question no American parent should ever have to ask. Will they ever own a home? Will they ever build equity? Will they ever pass down anything more than debt and rented memories? The data is brutal. Generation Z is on track to be the first American generation in over a century to have a lower home ownership rate than their parents at the same age. The millennials are right behind them, locked out of the market, paying off student loans into their 40s, watching their last shot at ownership disappear with every Federal Reserve press conference. In 10 years, the man living next door to you might not be a man at all. It will be a holding company, a subsidiary, a line item on a quarterly earnings report in a Manhattan boardroom. Your neighborhood will still look the same. The lawns will still be mowed. The mailboxes will still stand, but the people inside the houses will be tenants, renters, permanent occupants of property they will never own in a country their ancestors built, but their children no longer inherit. This is not the future. This is the present, and it is accelerating. The silent takeover is not coming. It is here. There are no tanks in the streets, no headlines screaming invasion, just signatures, server farms, and the soft, polite click of a mouse, transferring another piece of America into hands that will never let it go. And the worst part is this: you were never told, you were never warned, you were never given a chance to vote on it. By the time the average American realizes what has been taken from them, the deed is already signed, the rent is already due, and the algorithm has already moved on to the next zip code. So look out your window tonight. Look at your street. Look at the houses, the yards, the cars in the driveways, and understand that what you are looking at is not a neighborhood anymore. It is inventory. It is yield. It is an asset class on a spreadsheet you will never see. The American dream did not die. It was acquired. But here is what you need to understand before you close this video and try to sleep tonight. The house is just the beginning, because the same financial architecture that bought your neighborhood is now building something else, something far more powerful, something that, when it activates, will not just control where you live. It will control whether you can spend, save, travel, or even eat. They've already taken the land. Next, they're coming for the currency itself. If you want to understand the next stage of this takeover, the final lock on the cage, you need to watch what comes next. It's called the digital dollar kill switch, and once you see how it works, you will never look at the money in your account the same way again.